Osho Zenju Earthlyn Manuel to share some words with us for a morning talk. Please join me in welcoming.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Just hold on 1 minute. Okay. So here we are on Zooming this morning. I hope you all are well. I can't see everyone. I see some familiar names. And today, this morning, I want you to notice right now the place in which your body is from chanting and from zazen, from sitting meditation. And to notice the quality of the body. And to experience it. Not try to sustain it, but to experience it. Yeah, I think I like this view better. So, the majority of this practice and the depth of the practice we just did. So we're done for today. Bye. This part is a practice in listening and not grasping what you can take and put in your toolbox for tomorrow, for when you, with your family or your co-workers or in the world. They may be a tool, but mostly it's a time we can actually experience this zazen body, this sitting meditation body, and the quality of it. And experience it to the degree we can anchor our life in it, so that when we're in the world with our family, engaging life, that our bodies remember this space that we're in right now. So some of you might have squirmed out of it already as soon as the bell rang. Oops, okay, gone. Whoo, Dharma talk. So I know the feeling. I've had it 100 million times. And then as I aged in the practice, matured in the practice, I began to realize that what was honed in the chanting and in meditation was most important, maybe more important than what was going to be said by a teacher or whatever. And so as I learned to hold the body presence from zazen and chanting, I began to hear different things from the teacher. And I began to notice that previously I was waiting for the teacher to, just tell me everything I need to know. I mean, it has a title, Accessing Peace in the Midst of Chaos. All right, tell me, name it, throw it down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I would wait like that for the list. And when I got away from that and began to just listen to the teachings and the words coming from the Dharma talk, I began to notice I didn't need those kinds of, list, or things that I was expecting. I needed to hear the teachings, but I didn't need to hear what I wanted to hear. I heard what was needed to be heard. There's a difference there. I wasn't waiting any longer for what I needed to, my needs, because that can be pretty difficult because, some of the teachers are like, oh, no, I'm not featuring you. And of course, that's okay. We all have our favorites and it makes a lot of sense to me. I had some teachers I loved, and then I would see some teachers coming up to do the talk and I was like, oh no, and I shifted that shifted because and then it didn't matter because I wasn't relying on the teacher giving me what I needed to know, in a list or some kind of, formula strategy for life. I just began to listen and to see what words, what would come up. Even they might say one word, and what would come up for me would be something completely different. And I would have this aha based on this one word that the teacher said, whether they were teaching in the way I wanted them to teach or sounding the way I wanted them to sound or any of that. All of that, falls away. And so this is the way I began listening, not only to the teacher, but listening to the world, what was going on in the world, what was happening. So even when I listened to reports in the news, I listen with this body that we're in. Some of us are still holding from the chanting and the zazen. I listen with that body. I listen to my neighbors, their laughter, or when they're talking to me with this body. I listen to, on the phone, I listen to my family, our friends speak. So when I see the chaos in the world, I'm listening and seeing with this body. When I listen and see with this mind, that's probably when I start writing those books or something like that. Some kind of idea comes up about, that. But even before I write and I sit down, I wait to have this body, this chanting body. Because I might start out with, okay, I think I want to write about that. But then I pull back to this body, this sitting body, the body that has chanted. And I move, I take action from there. My thoughts shift also from maybe I have some idea about what's going on, about what's wrong, what's hard, what I can't bear any longer, which I'm sure we're having some of those feelings now, many of us, just unbearable. And so even in the unbearable, sitting with the unbearable, with the chanting and the sitting body, the body that sits, the body that chants. In our Sangha, many zendos, you come in and you sit first. You get the wake up bell rings, you get dressed, you do all the things you need to do to get there and sit in the zendo. And I discovered when I was the head student, which they call Shuso. And by the time, by the time I came around, everybody was asleep. I mean, I could see them because I'm Shuso. I'm coming through with my Jundo, right? So they're really kind of waiting for the real deal, the doji, the teacher, not the Shuso. So everyone kind of relax and they kind of go, and their heads would be bowed in sleep. And I would try to use my energy that I hone, because I sit a little bit before I would do that Jundo, and I would like kind of like in my mind say, I'm here, without saying it, trying to see whose body was receptive to mine coming by, whether they were asleep or not. Because sometimes the sleep state's pretty good for some folks. All of their habits are gone, their sleep. And it was interesting how many people would rise up. They wouldn't see me, but they would feel me, because I would slow down sometimes to the ones who were asleep and then keep going. And our song guide changed that when we come in, you get all that the first thing we did was chant. So they didn't get to finish off that nap, that snooze, that you do in the first period of zazen or sitting in the morning. There was no snooze. So you had to chant. It's very active. So it's not chanting, the robe chant, chant maybe what we just did, loving kindness meditation, bow 9 times. They had to do a whole lot before it was time to sit down. And then they would sit. And it was an experiment. And I noticed that it really did, the body was energized and ready for that seeing practice, for that stillness, so that you can be alert in the stillness. Wonderful in the Zendo doesn't work so well walking in the world, right? Sometimes. So what did it do with this chaos? This thing that, hits all the time, not just this year, not last year, but before then, in our personal lives and our collective lives. What body do you bring to these things? How do you activate the practice? Not how, oh, I'm upset, let me go meditate on it. Not that one. This is so hard, I can't meditate. Not that either. I'm not sure if the practice is, I can trust the practice right now because things seem so hopeless. Not that one either. Because in all of those 3 examples, the meditation and the dharma is just a tool in your chest of tools, other tools. But I find if we come to the world and come to the chaos I have experienced in this sitting body and this chanting body, that I begin to see and hear different things. And I find myself even expressing it differently and thinking differently. So even all my senses are engaged in a different place, which I'm hoping that is happening right now for some of you. After doing the chanting in the sitting, that you're being engaged differently and that you're experiencing it. And it can be something that you can engage in this way in the world. So not holding on to it. Okay, let me see if I can hold on to this state of consciousness, right here, right now, this, yeah, and not that. But just the stillness. Everything without you, without your effort, without your management of it all. That it has to be done this way and that way. And it needs to be said this way and that way. And so I'm introducing this place of peace that is not conjured from the mind, but rather arises as an experience. And we talked a little bit about that yesterday for some of those who were in the talk yesterday. Wonderful conversation with Ben Conley, and I teach from his books many times, and quoting him in my new books coming out. So he's definitely a teacher that I rely upon to reach the teachings, to find access. He creates a very beautiful way of accessing some very ancient teachings, very ancient. And I really believe he understands them. And so, therefore, his contemporary access and key and path, I think, is a wonderful um, presentation and gift, I think, to the world, and especially to Zen practitioners. So I hope and model myself after that, being able to offer an access to life and to the teachings together, not separate, so that you are now engaging the world right now. You are engaging the world. How do I know that? Without talking to you, knowing you, or anything. How do I know you're engaging the world? I don't need to know what you're doing in the world. I just know you're engaging life. If you're engaging life, you're engaging the world. You're here and you're alive, and that's how I know. How you're engaging the world, one way is coming to a retreat. How you engage the world in other places, I don't know. Maybe you'll share that later with me. So I think when chaos comes, we're going, oh no, how am I supposed to engage the world? And we've been engaging the world day after day, moment after moment, breath by breath, always engaging the world. And in that way, the practice is interrelated to life, your engagement of life. So a lot of places get worried. Oh well, um, should we march? Should we start a march and make some banners? I think that's wonderful. I really think that's a wonderful act. Wonderful in the sense of an inner satisfaction, and wonderful in a sense of being joined with people maybe think like you. But is that engagement sort of like when the bell rings, you kind of like let go, like, woo, let's get to the Dharma talk? Is if that's the engagement of marching and all that, when the bell rings, you shift into some other being. Is that engagement? Or are you bringing the chanting and meditation body with you? That what you feel, those who are still sustaining that right now, can you bring that? So you bring that same thing to the march, and then you bring that same thing to the grocery store, and that same thing when, maybe our children aren't doing what we want them to do, that kind of thing. Are they yelling back? Someone's yelling back at you, screaming at you. Someone's words don't feel so good. So then you're like, okay, I don't think I'll be around that person anymore. And I think that if this person is abusive, of course, a constant abuse, but also look to see if all the people around you are constantly abusing you. All the people are constantly abusing you. That's when you have to notice. I did. I did. I was like, no one likes me. No one likes me. No one likes me. And then I discovered I don't like them. So no, they don't like me. I don't like them. And I had to like, what is the problem, Zenju? Why don't you like other living beings? Where did you get disconnected and disengaged with the world? What happened? What happened? So whether we're disconnecting, okay, I really reside on the left or I'm on the right when it comes to politics, all of that is a disconnection to something else. It's all right to be on the left or the right, but are you disconnecting? Does that bell ring, bing, and you go into something else, some other being in person? So you'll really notice it as we get closer to lunch. That part where ding, you disengage. And so we're going to see if this day, just today, if we can carry the chanting and the meditation body through each activity and to see each activity, including this, talking, it's just sort of massaging that chanting and meditation body, massaging that feeling. And as you may have noticed, it's dissipating. The more I talk, the more it dissipates out of the body, dissipating. My teacher, Zenkei Blanche Hartman, always did sashing. She called the no toys, because she was a student of Uchiyama. No toys, no chanting, no nothing, just bowing and sitting and bowing and sitting. And everybody's like, oh no, there was nothing to bing break, bing break, bing break, none of that. It just went straight through. I loved it. I loved it. And I love to chant too. So I wanted to share with you something from my book, The Deepest Peace, because we're talking about peace. And I was talking about Ben Conley's teachings and some of the teachings I like to bring too. All of this is old, is ancient. Even what I've just said, and I bow to all of those who have sustained the practice so that I'm here sharing it, maybe through my eyes and through my life experience, but sharing that it's here to share. And it's in this book and it's in all the books that I write. It comes through. So, I'm working on a novel and people's like, well, is it a Zen novel? And it probably is in some way, although that's not the major religion in the book. It probably is that. There's no way it can't be, because I have become the practice over all these years, and I noticed the peace that it brings to me. Not calm, because I'm not calm a lot. I'm showing you that. I'm showing you composure so that I can share. And I think we're all doing that. We're all doing something right now, composing ourselves so that we can be here in some way. But we have so many emotions going on: rage, anger, disappointment, confusion, all that's going on, but we're not showing it right at this time. It may come up and it's still there. So that's why we have to be very careful too with the practice, because it wasn't meant to change us into speechless, kind of not engaging, still bodies that don't, react, or don't respond, all the time. That's not the purpose. And I think that doesn't mean it doesn't happen, because it could happen over time. It does happen, I think, over time, where it's quite naturally quite organic for you to be still and silent. So I really liked going back to this ancient thing. And I really liked that last night in the public talk, Ben asked about my ancestors first thing, and or asked about ancestors, period. He didn't ask about mine directly, I don't think in that way. But a lot of people don't understand that. What ancestors? What do you mean by ancestors? And I did talk about, for those who weren't there, that, we tend to think about people who have died, who came before us. But also, and we may even think about our teachers in the practice. We chant the ancestors. We do chant to Shakyamuni Buddha. We do our walking that ancestor's teachings. And then I also mentioned that the ancestor was the earth itself, the stars and the moons and the trees and all the medicine that was here when we came. Those are all ancient ancestors and teachers that were already here before we even showed up. But oftentimes we think we're alone here in the world, and that's what makes it very difficult to be in chaos, that we're alone with how to deal with it. So then you'll say, well, how should the ancestors help me? Well, the ancestors are helping us right now. Right in this moment, you're engaging the teachings of one of the most revered ancestors in the world, the Buddha. You're engaging it, and in engaging it and carrying the lineage, many of us I see have rakusus or robes, carrying the lineage of the teachings, not the teacher necessarily, but the teachings. So I wanted to share something about how important it is to, I think, honor ancestors and all ancestors, because some of the people in our own lineage, our own family lineage, we don't want to honor them because maybe they weren't good people in our eyes, or they did things we didn't want to, we don't want to think about, but they're still your ancestors. They're still there. They're still in your lineage. I don't care if you blink them out or not. And all the guys around Buddha weren't great guys or women. They weren't, or people who, even in his time, there was always transgender. That is not new. That is not new. It's new here, but there was always that in every indigenous culture. So here I wrote this, if you have the book, don't pick it up, but if you have the book, The Deepest Peace, I am going to be reading from page 132 to, actually 133, that area. I'm going to focus on that essay that goes from page 132 to page 135. So it's all these are very tiny, and I purposely made them these little nuggets so you don't have to, go, oh my God, I don't have time to read. Like me. When I see a big book, I choke. And I'm about writing my biggest books now, so I'm even choking writing them. But I like small. So here, the ancient radiance of the first awakening. The ancient radiance of the first awakening is in our eyes, our faces. All the joy and faith in the world were given and received at birth. The power to enact the original awakening on this earth is present if we are aware of such power. So it's saying that our lives are from the radiance, from that first source of light, of life and light. So a lot of times people say, well, we're all the same. Well, that sameness is not in our humanness. That sameness is in that we're from the same source of light, from the same radiance. And in that sense, we are like the butterfly, right? But if we say we're all the same because we're all the same human, then that just cuts off a whole bunch of things, a whole bunch of life in the world. But we're the radiance from everything that is living. So that's what we're the same at. That's where the sameness is, not as humans or individuals, We're the same because we're from this source, this ancient radiance. So when you enter a practice like this, you're entering ancient radiance. You're entering, and so that's why the chanting I like to come first, and the sitting, so that you're doing the ancient way. So some people say, well, I don't have an indigenous practice. I don't know. Okay, I'll go do some native thing maybe, or I'll go do some African thing or something, something else. But it doesn't have to be outside of yourself in that way. That there is an ancient wisdom in your bones, whether it's steeped in people or steeped in the earth. Which one? Or all of it? All of it. So in this section, I'm talking about Jokin Keizan and his work and his poetry, which I love. And he says, the ancient and the infinite light is reflected in each of us. In our faces, we can see the great ones from ancient times. So I always say, I know who your people are. I can see them right now. I can see what they look like. I know what your father looks like, your mother, your grandmother right now. And you can see mine. You can see my mother. You don't know what of my mother or what of my father or what of my grandparents. But I am here. They are here in this face and in these eyes. In this face and in these eyes. And so is the ancient radiance before their time, because they didn't start everything. My grandparents and my parents, they didn't start the world. They didn't start life. There's so many before them. And when I see this and understand this and know this, I don't feel alone in the chaos. I understand the chaos as also ancient. And believe it or not, such darkness also comes from the light and it's in the light. So why would that come from? Why would that be part of, what's given for life? Why would that happen? Why couldn't it just be perfect, lovely, peaceful? That's why I like the Zendo, because it's lovely and it's peaceful and it's quiet. Everybody's still, no one's talking. Yay. I like that too. So talking about myself. But but the actual presence of the ancient can also provide that inside you. And if it's inside you, it'll be around you. I had some friends I used to party with. I mean, we partied hard in our 20s, too hard. I think I'm still reaping. I know I am. My body parts, everything in it, I think has something to do with what I did then at this age. And I remember at one point I decided I wasn't going, I was exactly, I think 30 years old. And I said, I'm done. I didn't start, I only partied for 5 years. I didn't party in college or high school or anything because I was some kind of nun or monk already kind of popped out that way. So I wasn't into it. And then suddenly it hit around 25. So 25 to 30, I went wild. And my mother's like, what's happening with her? And then so I remember I could feel the wildness, and I was enjoying it, and I remember, when it stopped. And it just like, it was like one day and it just cut off. And it was like a Friday, I remember, because all of my party friends came over in the morning to my house to do all their stuff and drink and, brunch and, all this stuff. And I'm like, I wasn't doing any of it. I didn't feel it. And they were like, I wonder what's wrong with you? Why aren't you joining? Why don't you, we got all these, we're doing champagne, and they were doing drugs and cocaine. There was the drug, and, all these kinds of things. And I said, I don't want any of it. I mean, it was like one day, and they were like, what happened? And they went away. I didn't see those people no more. The next day they were gone. Gone. Didn't call me, nothing. And I was like, I guess those weren't my friends. I guess I was a good party girl, or what? What happened? What was this? But I tell the story so you know that what's within you affects what's outside of you. And as I change, the people that were around me are the people that are around me right now, including yourselves. A very different quality. Now, you may party. I'm not saying you don't party. And if you do, call me out. Invite me. I love to dance. I love to dance. I love music. But, that's not the point. The point is that I saw this as this ancient radiance was making its way into my life. More and more, I didn't know that's what was happening, but more and more, the people changed. Even the Buddhist people changed. I had one group of Buddhist people when I was in Nichiren. That was one tribe. I was in there for 15 years. And then I went into Zen. And then there's another tribe, another level. And I'm sure that just now I'm meeting people who are doing, Tibetan practices. So another level is coming in. Very, very powerful. And I'm not calling it in. I'm not calling them up going, I think I need to move along. I didn't do that for Zen either. I think I'm going to try Zen. I didn't know what Zen was. I mean, even while I was there, the whole time, I didn't know what. I just stayed there because I could see something in me, that thing, people changing, and something in me changing too, but me first, and then the people. Not only in Zen, but people outside in my life were changing. And I liked it. It was peace. It was peace. So let's see, where are we? Okay, a little more. I am still sitting in the sun beneath a tree full of mulberries. I greet the ancestors who lit my face before my existence. This is an awareness I came to. Ancestors who lit my face before my existence. So we're talking about that in my Sangha about seeds being planted in the world, but there's seeds existing in the world, and then when they're planted, that's when they come into existence. That's when they come into existence. And that's the core, one of the core teachings of the Yogacara, which Ben Conley has a wonderful book on too. That's the core. So we're like, I want to study the Yogacara, but you don't come away knowing that your face was lit before you came into being. That's the teaching. Now you can go, I know the Yogacara and name it and all the verses that are a part of that. And that's great. But until you engage from this chanting sitting body, this Zazen body, that's how I came to who lit my face before my existence from the Yogacara. I try not to run in fear of the radiance I resemble. I try not to run in fear of the radiance I resemble, which is to say, to not run in fear of myself. The people I didn't like, I was afraid of them. Why was I afraid of them? Because I was afraid of myself. So now if you're that person, don't go and say, oh yeah, I'm afraid of myself. Come to this on your own. See if this comes through your life. You know, if it is true, just to see what it is that disconnects you from the bell of Zazen into the Dharma talk. What is the disconnect? Where does the body stop? What are you doing? What are you cutting off? You know, if I had not seen myself and seeing myself as a radiance, if I had not seen myself, then how can I know myself as the heir of wisdom transmitted aeons ago? So I'm a Dharma heir of Zenkei Blanche Hartman. I'm a Dharma heir of Buddha. If you see the lineage papers, there's many people there. So I'm the Dharma heir. You know, I got really confused at one time. I was sitting in front of Blanche and I said, I'm getting really confused, you know, who I'm a student of, you know, because there were so many people I have been going to do, you know, practice discussions. And I felt a lot of people guiding me and owning me and that kind of thing. And which it was interesting because I had that in my own relationship life. People were owning me. Everyone I dated, they were married to me somehow, you know, so I knew that was something about me, right? This is similar. Everybody I date, you know, suddenly they felt they were married to me, and I didn't understand that. And then the same thing was happening here, you know, with my teachers. Everybody I was with, I was their student. Same thing, same response. So they weren't doing anything but being who they were, their teachers. But I began to get confused, you know, and in which I got confused in dating as well. So I stopped dating. I just cut it off. But I didn't want to stop Zen practice, so I didn't cut it off. I just stayed confused, you know, with the teachers. And I finally said to Blanche, I said, I'm really confused. You know, who am I a student of? And she just looked at me. She said, you are a student of the Buddha. I was like, whew, that cleared up a whole lot. That cleared up so much for me because I was becoming the student of like about 4 or 5 teachers, literally, you know, just by my engagement with them and my thinking that was just the way it was because of how I engaged. So I learned that there was a way in which I was engaging people and engaging the world that maybe I wanted to be owned by married or a student of all the teachers. Maybe I wanted to be loved by all those teachers. You know, you just get to see these things in the practice, in the chanting and in the body. And to see how I was suffering around it because I was feeling like I would go to one teacher and I felt like I was cheating on the other teacher, you know, when I would go to, you know, so this is all going on in here. It's all going on in here. So I didn't feel that way with Buddha. So that cleared up everything because he wasn't here. Now, if Buddha was on the earth, I would have been confused about whether or not I was supposed to be hanging with Buddha or not. But I was, because I had this glitch in my personality. So being the heir of wisdom, that's what Blanche is trying to convey. You are the heir of the wisdom transmitted aeons ago. And having that, being an heir of that, I am sure I can navigate the chaos that comes into my life and into the world. I am positive. I have no doubt. Doesn't mean I don't cry. I don't get enraged. It still can feel unbearable, but I am going to thrive and survive it because I know something about life in this life that I didn't know before. I would be so consumed by everything, so consumed. And I see people being consumed, and my heart aches sometimes that, you know, with the killings, the dying going on in different countries, you know, right now, Palestine and, you know, different, the news is just, it's just all over the place. Now I see it all as the same. I see the pandemic, the killings of hatred against people of color, and Palestine, all as the same thing. All the same thing. Because I'm seeing through the chanting and the body of Zazen. I'm looking at life. It's all the same. All the chaos is the wake-up call. It's the bell. Bing, bing. They're all bells. Loud, big old bells, dencho bells ringing throughout the world. Now, do I just disconnect when I hear those bells? Oh my God, what's happening? Everyone's dying. What's happening? Or do I stay with the chanting and meditation body and engage even after the bell of pandemic, the bell of killing, the bell of war, those bells ringing loud, louder and louder, loud. So they're unbearable. Ouch, ouch. Do I disconnect? Or am I able to listen, speak, think, and move with the radiance, ancient radiance of the ancestors? Thousands of years have passed since the death of those I came from. And yet it's still possible. This is the beauty. It's still possible. They're gone, they're dead, and it's still possible to offer incense, flowers, food, offer things of the earth, offer the earth back to the earth, and to bow to them, ring bells. And I have here blow a whistle made from eagle bone of a bald eagle, which I have one of those because I do Sundance and it was gifted to me by a very precious, precious person in my life and made from the bone of a bald eagle. This is so I can clear my ears and write on the earth what is being said. So thousands of years have passed. Doesn't mean it's gone. Now that's an interesting thing, huh? Things that have passed are not gone. That's something to reflect upon. Yogacara, there is no going, no coming, no going. No coming nor going in the realm of nirvana. Now that's something to reflect on. What does that mean to our lives today in the midst of chaos? So let me check the time because that's what I don't have as a timekeeper. Let's see. Okay. So we're going to take a tea break. But before I do that, I just want us to join our hands together right here. And I want us to do 3 bows to not me, not you, just to being here on this planet and having the fortune, the good fortune to be here in the world at this time. We are fortunate to be here at this time in this chaos, believe it or not. And let's 1, 2, and 3. Feel it, feel it, Feel the energy, even take your hands away. Feel that energy. I didn't ring the bell so you wouldn't go poop, disconnect. After the third bell, we're kind of like um, behavior mod with the bells. Ding. So I didn't ring any this time on purpose. So I hope this was beneficial, this talk. And we're going to have a tea break so that you can just, be with what's being said instead of jumping into what did you say about, it's just being with what is right here. Now, even if you forgot the whole talk, all those who forgot the whole talk, I congratulate you. Great work. But if you felt something, whether you don't know the words, but if there's something that you're feeling that has come up, in your body from the chanting, from the zazen, from some of the jewels Buddha passed through me, my teacher passed through me, you know, um, you know, from that place, ask your questions if you have any. Make your inquiry something of your life, of this life. When I say that, and your deepest inquiry. What is your deepest inquiry? And and even if it's the sky is blue, I'll say something about it because I love to respond and engage. So make sure during the tea break you um, take a break. Really take a break, and then we'll come back for a Q&A based on the talk and this morning so far. Is that good? Am I missing anything, Kashin? Yeah.